It's time for another episode of The Cheat Sheet.
The podcast where we interview top VCE performers
And deconstruct the strategies they use to achieve incredible results at school and in life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cheat Sheet. My next guest that joins us graduated back in 2014. He got into the university course that he was after, but decided to take a gap year and has since reevaluated what he wants to spend his time doing. He has a good friend. He is Lars Vorlicek. How you going, Lars?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry, I started saying good morning and then I realised that
It was evening.
it was evening. But, well, yeah, it depends when people listen to it.
True.
Yeah,
True. They could well
so,
be listening to it.
Hello.
Or
And I
bang
hope you're
on
having
midday,
a
or it's
pleasant
noon.
time of day.
We've started
everyone.
just as I thought we might start.
Fantastic.
So
Good noon.
let's launch straight into it. You obviously graduated now, so it's going to be a bit of a sort of reflective experience, next sort of 10, 15 minutes or so, about sort of our time in high school, I guess, and then what you've gone on to do since then. So having been out of high school now for a couple of years, the first question I'd like to ask you is, what one piece of advice do you reckon you'd give people that are still in high school in that final year of year 12?
I think it's really important to keep a big picture view of year 12. So this is probably advice that people hear a lot. One thing that me and my friend did in year 12, for example, just to put like an example to put it into perspective, we would go and study at the state library, because traveling into the city to study, you would see business people, university students, old people, young people. You would just understand like your place in the world on the path you're on. And I think it became really important for us to use VCE as a tool rather than an end game. So using it as a stepping stone into other things rather than seeing it as like, you know, your retirement.
So do you think that's what your gap year kind of gave you most? That sort of foresight, I guess, or hindsight in this case, that like of your broader sort of place in the world and where you sort of perhaps belonged?
Yeah, like I think I don't know. Looking back now, I sort of see it as like the first year of the rest of my life. Like it was the start of a bigger chapter, and it felt like that chapter that is the chapter I'm in now, which is just like the next 60 years of my life as opposed to the first 18. And so it was really great to step out of learning for a year and step out of I guess just sitting and receiving information, which was fantastic. Like I loved high school, and I loved learning, and I loved the academic side of that, but I also loved just taking a year to go out and do stuff. So my goal originally was to travel, and then I realized I wasn't going to earn nearly enough money to do that, because I was also doing an internship at my church. So as well as working part-time in a fast food restaurant, just doing sort of menial labor essentially, and saving up money, getting work experience, trying a whole bunch of different stuff there. I also did 2 days a week at my church doing an internship in youth ministry, which is just like really working in an office as well as helping run their Friday night program. So it was two like very, very different things, but things that were also incredibly different to high school itself.
So what sort of value did you place on your sort of time in high school then? Because obviously, I suppose a lot of people jump straight into like tertiary studies, and obviously it's kind of a direct sort of correlation between, what they did in high school and then what they went on to do afterwards. Did you feel that it was kind of like a natural progression for you, or did you kind of consciously want to take like time out, try something else? Or what was your sort of feeling going into it?
Yeah, I remember at first like being terrified of taking a gap year because I was going to be a year behind everyone. And I remember like being really afraid even about the course I was doing, because some people were just doing a degree and that was 3 years, but my double degree was 5 years. And so I was going to be, like 2 years behind everyone else in the workforce and stuff. But then the more different stories I heard, like to this day, there's I think 1 or 2 people I can name that did high school to year 12, went to university the next year, did a 3-year degree, got a job the year after, and are now working full time. Like everyone else has got such different stories and such different journeys of taking time off uni, taking a semester off or a year off, going back to uni for postgraduate study, changing course. I know somebody that did 5 years of a psychology degree and then changed to nursing. And so I quickly sort of realized that whether you became a doctor at 28 or whether you become a doctor at 30 is not really going to impact your life journey so much, and you'll do so many things in the meantime that are a part of contributing to what you learn and the skills you have and the ideas you have about the world, that I guess it's all a part of the journey that you go on. And so I think for me, especially, taking the year off was just to take a big pause to make sure that I wasn't just on the train of education for the sake of being on the train, I guess. So I really valued tertiary education, but I think for me, I needed to take time to know that I wasn't studying for the sake of studying. I think that for me was really important, to know that everything I was doing was worthwhile and contributing to, the things that I wanted to spend my life doing and what I wanted to learn.
Yeah, well, so I didn't word my question particularly well, but you got exactly to what I was kind of going at there. You nailed it. Because I guess it kind of was kind of a time out for you, I suppose, to sort of consider your path and your future and what you wanted to do with yourself. How did your sort of priorities change during that year? What kind of decisions did you make about what you were going to go and do this year?
Yeah, so, well, this year I am studying. So I'm studying part-time ministry. So I'm doing a Bachelor of Theology at Ridley Theological College in Parkville in Melbourne. And that is basically like studying to become a minister or to get a academic degree of theology, a whole bunch of different things it can mean. So I realized on my gap year that I really loved working with young people, especially with teenagers, and helping them find the potential in themselves to learn and to master things that often, sometimes even adults struggle to master. So part of that came from the youth ministry, which was working in a church, running a Friday night program where we wanted to get kids to feel really welcome, like build an environment where young people felt loved and accepted, and like they could become really good at things, really good at relationships, really good at games and jokes, and just like a valued part of a community. And that was the same at the job I had. So at the fast food restaurant I was working at, I ran the team of, I guess, like crew trainers. So we, have all our crew on the floor, but then we had our crew trainers, and I got to work with them basically as they took their first steps into business at 16 or 17. Like they were looking at the business side of things, at growing people, working with people. And so the similarities between my job at the fast food restaurant and my job at the church were really kind of bizarre. Like, so there was a lot of similarities in just trying to get young people to make the most of their potential. And so that's sort of where I realized that that's what I wanted to spend my time doing. Partly because it's a whole bunch of fun, like you can keep doing teenage activities for your entire life if you work with teenagers. And partly just because I really want the teenagers out there who have the potential in themselves to achieve great things really early on in their lives. I want them to see that and realize that and know that they are trusted and valued and loved in the communities that they're in. So like there's obviously studying theology, there's a huge like biblical part of that, and about people who are made by God to achieve really big things in their lives. But I also see that in such a powerful way in, I guess, the secular workforce that I work in as well.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think was unique about your experience? Sort of if you were to sort of a hypothetical scenario in which you had gone to uni or even sort of back in high school, kind of what was unique about that year you took out and the sort of experiences you had that you think kind of led to this sort of reinvigorate interest in helping young people? Do you think you may have uncovered that same, or you sort of would have had that same sort of outcome had you gone to uni, or do you think it was specifically tied to taking that time out, having that gap year, sort of exploring other pursuits that led to that?
Yeah. So I think it came a lot out of my gap year. I think if I had gone straight to uni, I probably would have ended up, because like I guess the passions you have, like you have those passions regardless of what you're doing with your time. Like you'll still find one thing interesting over another. I think so. I think if I had gone to uni straight away, it probably would have been a bit of a time waster for me. Like I would have learnt a lot of really valuable things about working hard, about making friends and studying and all those things, but I think it probably wouldn't have contributed to the interests that I had and the things that I wanted to achieve with my life. So I think taking the time out was good because I ended up just doing the stuff that I naturally I'll explain that again. So I, by taking the time out and just seeing what I ended up doing with my time, it sort of gave me a good indication of what I actually wanted to do. So I feel like in a way I kind of fell into the internship at church and I kind of was just still working at Macca's because that's where I'd been. But by just sticking with those things because I love them, I realized that I actually did really enjoy them. And so, yeah, I think that contributed to me sort of realizing what I wanted to do with my time and what I wanted to study. Yeah, now that I am in studying. So I think like a lot of people will take a gap year and they'll take a time out to basically work full time and go on a holiday, which I think is fine. I think it's like that's a relaxing break. But I think if you're taking a gap year for the purpose of a holiday, I think you've got 3 months between high school and the uni year starting. So if you want to go on a holiday, I think you can just go on a holiday in that time. Or if you're going to have a holiday, have a purpose, like have something you want to explore. Like if you really want to go and see the world, then say, oh, actually, I really want to go and see the world. Maybe that tells me something about myself and what I should spend my time doing. So like, for example, my sister took a gap year and went to Canada to work in a summer camp there, doing all these outdoor activities, canoeing, kayaking, hiking, rock climbing, all those things. And she did that for 2 years in a row, like took 2 gap years and then each year went across to Canada to work in one of those summer camps. And then after those 2 years, she thought, I really don't know what I want to do with my life, until she realized that she should probably go to university and study outdoor education and, learn about the outdoors, about all those different activities, how to do them safely, how to do them in our natural environments well, and educate herself basically on what she loved doing. So yeah, I think it's important to take that time out to learn what you enjoy.
Sure. So if you were chatting to someone that was in that similar sort of position to you, where that you had sort of applied for a uni, maybe you'd been accepted, but you were sort of deliberating as to whether or not take a gap year or not, would that be the sort of extent of your advice? Would just sort of you'd recommend sort of staying active, doing something, getting hands on?
Yeah.
What would be the entirety of your recommendation? Someone in that position, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just really important to consider the reasons why you're doing certain things. So if you're completely set on that you want to take a gap year, have a good think about why. And I'm not saying that because you'll think about why and then realize you don't need one and therefore you should go straight to uni. I think actually you might think about why you really want to take a gap year and then think, oh, well, maybe I'm not built to sit in a classroom for lectures and things like that, and I really want to spend my time learning through practical elements. And maybe that's a reason to go to a TAFE. Maybe you really want to go straight into uni and study a certain course, and you should think, why do I want to do that? And not necessarily so that you'll then realize, oh, I shouldn't go to uni, but rather then you'll realize, oh, well, I really want to go to uni and study gingerbread design. Well, maybe at the same time, I should also do some short courses on gingerbread making and spend some time researching gingerbread houses online, and realize why you actually want to go to uni and make the most of those passions and those interests that you have.
Right. Fantastic. And then I guess just on a sort of final note, what do you think you've kind of learned out of your experience, both sort of in high school, then going on to your gap year and then onto your studies now? Would you be able to sort of pinpoint to one particular lesson you've learned that you think is really sort of going to guide you on the way forward and the way you sort of make those decisions going forward? What would be that sort of one sort of, I guess, motto or something you've sort of developed for yourself carrying forward, and where do you sort of see yourself going with that?
I think it's just about like keeping an open mind and not rushing yourself into things. I think the more like pressure you've got on yourself, the more you might end up wasting time. I had a friend that felt really pressured to go to uni, and it just like ended terribly when he got his degree and he's got a HECS debt of tens of thousands of dollars, and ended up getting a job completely unrelated, was miserable and poor for 3 years, and then didn't even need it. So I think it's just to keep an open mind and don't rush what you're doing, and also acknowledge that every experience you have and everything you spend your time doing is still valuable time. So in backtracking on what I just said about, wasting time being miserable at uni for 3 years, you'll still get a lot out of it, and you'll still have learned a lot about yourself and what you're interested in, even if it's as simple as you're not interested in something in particular. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Lars. Always great having a chat with you. Thanks for your words of wisdom.
Was this recorded?
It
I
was.
thought this was
strangely,
just a general chat.
No, that's why we had these microphones in front of our
Fantastic.
faces.
I didn't see it.
If you want to see more of what Lars has discussed with us today, if you want a bit of a recap, you can obviously head over to thecheatsheet.net.au/Lars and see a little summary of everything goes. Lars is.
Do I get my own URL?
So excited to get his own URL.
What a win! That's awesome. One of the ways I rated my success in life in high school was to Google my name and see how many of the top results I was.
Sure.
So this will just help that cause. So thank you.
Fantastic. Well, you'll be able to relive Lars's words of wisdom there. You're even able to relive your own if you so
Definitely.
desire.
I'm so
Lars.
self-indulged.
You can search it up, turn up your result, read through the PDF there. You'll find it all at the cheat sheet.
Like this episode?
Head to thecheatsheet.net.au for show notes, real-life cheat sheets, and links to our social media pages. Thanks for listening.